welcome to the Empowered Path. My name is Kylie Nicole, and for those of you who know me, I am an evidential medium who works internationally, and I've had the privilege to work with many of you on a one-to-one basis. For those that don't know me, I wanted to record something to tell you a little bit about me and how the Empowered Path was born, where it came from, and why it's so important to me. Please do excuse my voice today. I've got a cold, but the show must go on. Okay, so I was born in Zimbabwe in 1988, and I was born into a family that had a lot of trauma and a lot of loss. Inevitably, my parents separated finally when I was 9, I think, and my dad, my stepmom, and my half brother and my brother moved overseas, and I stayed behind in Zim with my mom. I was a nerd. I was a very academic person, and I loved school, but when I was 17, I had to drop out because we were told that the ancestry visa for the UK was being phased out. And in my great escape plan that I had at the time, I was planning on going to university in the UK. So I took extra subjects and became a school dropout at 17. And I remember going to go and say goodbye to my gran, my mum's mum, who I was very close to. And she was not well at the time. She was sitting in bed, and I was sitting on her bed next to her. And she gave me £120, which was all of the money that she had, and a little address book. And in that address book, she had written everybody that she could remember from the UK. So she'd been born in Scotland, but she lived the majority of her life from sort of mid-teenage years in Rhodesia, then Zimbabwe. And she had contacted everybody and written out all of their new details so that she could support me the only way that she knew how to. And even now, when I think about that little legacy of love, it lights something inside of me. What an incredible woman, what an incredible opportunity. So I arrived in the UK with £120, a suitcase and a smile, and I had the best time. But I very, very quickly realized that university wasn't going to be something that I could afford. I couldn't put myself through it. So I got myself into business. Now, ironically, I got into logistics, transport and logistics in the shipping kind of world accidentally as a temp. And then I worked very, very hard and I got taken on by a shipping company. That migrated pretty quickly. And at 20 years old, I found myself in a European boardroom talking to 50, 60-year-old men about high-end luxury vehicles. And I remember thinking at the time, like, this is wild. I refused to drink alcohol the whole time I was traveling for work because I didn't want to not be taken seriously. And, there were so many little things like that, but it was, it is an experience that I cherish, but also it was so far away from who I am as a person, but it was great. And then I got headhunted. It was 2012, so I must have been 23. I got headhunted to run a freight forwarding company, which I agreed to do, and that was amazing. So we did really well. I was with them for 3 years. I had an absolute blast, and I feel like the company was wildly successful. So that was good. It was really hard to leave them, but we decided to migrate to Australia. We wanted to pursue a different dream. My husband, so I was a girl who never wanted to get married or settle down, but at 21, I fell in love with a soldier who would be deployed for 6 months of every year and served in Afghanistan twice. And he had decided that it was time to look at life outside of the army after serving half a career there. So he did 12 years. And I had been thinking about Australia as an option because I'd reconnected with my dad. He lived over here, and we kept on being told about this great Australian dream. So we decided that we're never going to regret the experiences that we have. We took a chance, put in an application, and got approved. And that ended up with us moving over here in 2015. So I had to start again work-wise when we moved over here. And I was a shipping clerk for 9 months, and that didn't do much for me. I was a freight forwarding clerk, actually, and that didn't do anything for me. So I moved with my husband to Sydney, and I was running a national logistics program for a company over there. I thought the job was perfect, but ultimately it was not aligned to me. And I sacrificed everything that was important to me to keep turning up for a business that didn't count me. I had to fight for everything. And after a while, that gets exhausting. So the whole time, I mean, I've been connected to spirit since I was 5. So the whole time I've got my family and spirit and my guides and everybody else saying, you got to come back, you got to come back. And eventually I started to listen. and I started to do more mediumship and I started to be more intuitive and kind of lean back into that side of me. And when I quit my job in Sydney, I went back to Perth and I took on a role as a state manager for a software company. But on the side, I started to see my mediumship clients just quietly. It was just maybe two people a week. It was very quiet, very just on the side. And I was still doing the normal life thing. I I am was not, you know, so basically in 2020, I lost my mom. She died in January at 60 years old. And just after we got back from Zimbabwe sorting out my mom's cremation, uh, COVID happened. So I know I'm not alone in being affected by COVID, but we went into that weird, crazy period. And then, so I lost mom in the January. Everything kind of shut down because of COVID around that February, March point. In May, I found out I was pregnant with my son, Tommy. And it was it was a really beautiful, really special, but also quite an emotional and difficult time. Um, in January 2021, my son was born. Literally just weeks after having him, my job was dissolved and I had nowhere to go because the rental that we were in got sold from under us. And because of the housing market being so crazy mid the COVID situation, we didn't have anywhere to go. And it wasn't from a lack of income. It was literally there was nobody who would take us, and we have a staffy and they didn't want dogs. And it was too hard. So we ended up living with a friend in their games room. Our little family who lived and moved into their games room for 3 months. And actually, looking back, that was incredible because even though at the time, like, I was pretty overwhelmed, I'd been working, suddenly no job, new mum, having just lost my own mum, and then nowhere to live. But actually, me moving in with them or us moving in with them meant that I had support at a time where I wouldn't have had support otherwise with Tommy, with his tiny 6-week-old baby. And my friend and his godmom, Krista, was there to support me as well because David was working FIFO. So, those of you who don't know that, that's when they work on the mines and they're home for a period of time and then gone for a period of time. So it worked out amazingly. And we actually ended up being able to buy our home in January 2021 because of being able to save all the money from staying in my friend's games room. And with a little bit of help along the way, we got here. So that was incredible. In 2022, I launched the first version of the Empowered Path, and that was born from this whole journey. It was combining everything, realizing that nothing that I'd gone through was coincidental. And also because through my connection in my readings and with my clients, I'd realized how many women are like me, intuitive with ability, but hiding behind something else. And as long as we're hiding in a day job, we're not turning up to serve the people that we're here to serve. The other thing that happened though in 2021, when I lost my job and I had my son and we moved into the games room, was I got booked for a month in advance. I opened my availability for my mediumship and I got booked a month in advance. Like the universe rose up and met me where I was and took me further. And this is something I talk to the girls in the Empowered Path about all the time. It's amazing what kind of crazy magic happens when you back yourself. So moving on to 2022, I had launched the Empowered Path and that was great. Like really loved the process. Was so excited to work with some incredible women. Still seeing my clients, running events, very, very busy, very happy. My son was this happy, healthy, crazy little boy. Um, and then in 2023, I relaunched the Empowered Path again. And that was amazing. Again, amazing women, different stories, but still, it's like every time I launched, there was another layer of amazing, different, inspiring women that I was working with. And I get so much from that. And we were going to the UK in June for my husband's 40th birthday. And while we were there, my son got diagnosed with a very rare cancer called JMML. It's a leukemia. And our world literally fell apart. I was 6 months pregnant with my daughter Aria at the time. And we were stuck in hospital for the majority of our time in the UK, just trying to get Tommy stable and create a continuation of care to hand him over here so we could get home to Perth. And it was the most stressful time of my life. It was the most heartbreaking, stressful time for all of us. So everything kind of came grinding to a halt, except for my business, which carried me through. So seeing my clients in that period of time was something that kept my sanity. And financially, I was suddenly booked up 3 months in advance, not just 1 month in advance, which had been normal for me. So financially, that carried me as well. And people don't realize like how expensive life gets when you're not working, when you're at the hospital every day. It was very overwhelming. So that again was just the most magical, incredible experience to have had, and something that I'm so very deeply grateful for. But it also underlined to me how important it was to be here doing this work, and how this work was then giving back to me. The equal energetic exchange that I talk about all the time was so profound in this point. So we fast forward to today. Tommy is well and healthy, which we're so grateful for. And life is as close to normal as it has been in a really long time. So the Empowered Path is now being redesigned and turned into an evergreen program. So the women who need this don't need to wait for me to launch it once a year, twice a year, whenever I have capacity. It's going to be an evergreen format, so people can sign on whenever they need to. They work through the modules in their own time. There are mentorship calls to everybody jumps on a mentorship call. And that's how we support each other there and within the community, the Empowered Path Legacy members and the community that we've built around this. I've got team members who are amazing, holistic, intuitive women supporting me and you. And it's just the most, so many people who are walking this path are looking for their tribe. And this is something that we've created. We've created the community, we've created the tribe. You don't have to look anymore. And it's a really beautiful thing to be part of. Sorry, excuse me, I do sound terrible. So that's where we're at. I am very, very excited to be here. I am so honored and privileged to be sitting in this space with a healthy, well-heeled family and looking at these incredible women that I co-create with. And I'm excited to see where this goes, because the world needs more empowered, abundant, influential women taking their place. And if this is you, if this is talking to you, please know that if you're ready to back yourself, we will be there 100% of the way. I will be there every step of the way. And you can do this. There's no better time than now. Thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the course. Take care.